Reshaping the future of research. Oh, yeah. Okay. We're going to have just a very loose, fun conversation today. Let me first introduce myself. I'm Rani Molla. I'm a senior technology reporter at Sherwood News. Now we have, I can start here. We're in a different order. Uri Gruenbaum, the co-founder and CEO of TipRanks, a leading investment research platform used by millions of investors and some of the world's largest financial institutions. We have Dave Tagare. He leads AI, ML, and data organization at Robinhood. He's serving as the company's primary point of contact for all things AI. And then finally, we have Abhishek Fatehpuria, the vice president of product management for brokerage at Robinhood Markets. So, one thing I like thinking about as a journalist is just like my audience, and I think the people here today, traders, want to know how other people who are like them act. So I wanted to know how people come to your platforms, what they do there, and then like where do they go? If you could give me sort of the flow. Let's start with you, Uri.
Sure. So our original product was called, and it's still called, a financial accountability engine, where we measured and ranked what any expert in the world is saying. So our most common use case was people simply coming to our platform to vet the recommendations they were getting online. So they would read about this analyst from Goldman Sachs that says buy the stock. They would go to TipRanks to see if you should listen to him. Then they did the same with different bloggers. And then a couple of years ago, we brought a breaking news company, and I think that we got many new users who started to come to TipRanks just to see why stocks are moving, to be the first to learn about it. So I think that usually users would come to TipRanks to get investment ideas, vet investment ideas, and then go to other platforms to go and execute the actual trade.
And is that precipitated by the stock is moving, then they're going to research, or is this just the company they're looking into?
Either the stock is moving, or there was an important company announcement, or many times there are upgrades that are unexpected, like analyst research and upgrades or downgrades, and then they will go to TipRanks to read more about it. Why was the upgrade? Why was the stock upgraded? And how good is the analyst? Does it even matter if what he said?
And over at Robinhood?
Go for it?
Let me answer it very briefly, and I'll put a AI and ML spin on it a little bit. I think a lot of times users come based on like some engagement numbers to check prices, do some stock discovery. Now it's slowly shifting to like, can Robinhood be my primary piece of research? Because we have very trusted data, so on and so forth, and accurate prices at all points. So from like an ML and AI lens, I think the puck is moving towards more discovery and research via the Robinhood app, in addition to obviously trading.
I think that there's a few things. I feel like the canonical use case that we like to think about is someone gets a price movement notification.
Stock goes up.
Stock goes up, or stock goes down.
Sure.
And then they want to know why. And AI is a great tool to help us synthesize all the information to sort of come up with a summary for that. I think more and more, and you saw this with some of the products we talked about last night, it's also a platform for like deeper research and deeper engagement. Like if I want to do technical analysis, if I want to do a more complex scan, I can use the product to take something that is typically very time consuming and very complex and like boil it down to a simple set of steps.
So they're seeing a price movement. They're going to the site now. They're spending a longer period of time there, doing research. They're using AI in various capacities. And then, where do they go after? Do they? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think more and more for us, like if I come into Robinhood because a price is moving, and then the customer feels like they have to leave to go do research, that's like almost an opportunity for us. So we feel like we can bring in a lot of data, bring in a lot of research, partnering with companies like TipRanks to make sure that customers don't need to leave the ecosystem to do their research. So, but one thing we have seen is more and more people are using like LLMs to understand why is the stock moving. They'll take a screenshot of a chart and they'll be like, hey, help me read this chart.
So going out to ChatGPT afterwards.
Yeah, going out to ChatGPT or whatever. And I think, at least my POV is like, every time they come into the Robinhood app and then have to leave, to do this research, that's like something we should be avoiding because
Right.
they want to be in the flow. Yeah.
Okay, this leads me to my next question. Like, obviously, over the past few years, like since the advent of ChatGPT, like made this so mainstream, it sort of like upended the way everyone does everything, but especially
Yeah.
the way people do research. How have you changed? And obviously, there was a bunch of announcements last night.
Yeah.
But I want to hear how you both have both companies have responded to AI. Like, how are you integrating it into your different platforms?
You want to go first?
Sure. So the way we see it, we are in the beginning of a new era of research. And if we focus the last 10 years of measuring and tracking what, thousands of sell-side analysts in the world are saying and trying to explain it in a simple way, for the average Joe, what we're doing now is we're trying to replace these analysts with different LLMs. So I think that probably 80% of our resources are shifting to acquiring companies that have unique data sets, because eventually your AI is only as good as the data that supports it. But also to create the new research and try to personalize it for investors. I think that our advantage is that we're a data company and we're less regulated. So we get to do more experience to see what works, what doesn't work, and we have fast cycles. And so what we're doing now is about 3 months ago, we released a new AI analyst. And so far, it's been very popular. It's getting tens of thousands of users every day, just going to download the full research like it was a Goldman Sachs analyst, but it's actually an AI analyst.
So you're saying replace the analysts?
Yeah.
Are you feeding it what the analysts have been saying before?
We're feeding it with the same data that analysts are using.
Oh, okay, got it.
But we're doing more than that. We're actually, for every LLM that's out there, it can be like 5 different versions of OpenAI, but it can also be Claude, Perplexity, Grok, whatever. Each one of them is going to have different analysts, so they will start competing with each other, and slowly we will learn which analyst predicts which sector and industry better than others, and we believe that is the future of sell-side research.
Do you foresee them becoming just sort of as famous as the analysts are?
We hope so. We're counting on it. So
the
we're
NLM,
slowly
yeah.
integrating them into our analyst arena, which is a very popular tool.
And you could compare them, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
Like,
that is the idea. It
okay.
takes time to compare them because
Sure.
you can't measure them based on one quarter. You need at least 3-4 quarters and enough ratings to make sure that you are measuring them correctly. But we're now in the middle of this process, and it's probably the most exciting thing that we're working on.
That's fascinating and like terrifying for analysts.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I guess, they're telling themselves that if they learn to use AI, they're safe. But
That's what they keep telling me.
yeah.
And Robinhood?
Yeah, Robinhood, it's been an interesting journey, I would say. Like, if we're up for a little bit of a recap, I would say about a year and a half or so ago, the whole paradigm of consuming LLMs was RAG, retrieval augmented generation. So you, at a conceptual level, you give a prompt, you get an answer back, and you kind of have to trust the LLM to give you the right answers because it is what it is. It's
Right.
trained on the internet. It's going to predict the next token, give you a response back. The consumption pattern through RAG was like, I get the response, then I go somewhere else to essentially take the next action. If I want to do more research, I come back to it. I think the interesting thing about our take at Robinhood with respect to AI was like, we decided to be agentic first. So agents are essentially autonomous pieces of software that are given a goal, can iterate or do multi-turn conversations or interactions with an LLM to achieve the goal you wanted to achieve. Additionally, you can add guardrails, policy enforcement, grounding, hallucination reduction, super important things for fintech. You can never give a wrong answer in fintech. It's
Right.
The stakes are a lot higher.
Yeah, stakes are a lot higher, and the penalties are also a lot higher, right? Just to put the legal spin on it. But we went down the agents path, which gave us essentially the ability to go from, or our users the ability to go from, hey, can I trust this response, to creating a trustable system that they can consume. So we curated our data vendors, we built our agents, we added a series of checks, we added evals, which we share with FINRA and SEC, so on and so forth on an ongoing basis. That gave us the ability to put out trustable AI systems within our app on the back end with customer support, so on and so forth.
So you're building a more trustworthy for this business case LLM to begin with, and then
Exactly.
also like setting guardrails
Right.
that are very specific.
Exactly.
I also think that some unique things about our approach generally have been like solving some of the hardest problems first, even if they don't show up to customers on day one. So for example, like making it feel integrated into the Robinhood ecosystem, it's like fairly easy to stand up a chatbot that maybe knows nothing about Robinhood, but one of the first problems that Dave and his team solved is like, how do we make the AI service customer support? And in order to do that, it needs to have an intimate understanding of the Robinhood product and the Robinhood ecosystem. So now every time we roll out products, it'll feel like more connected to the app at large versus being like siloed.
Right.
I think similarly with like Digest, it feels like a small feature. Well, A, it fits into a customer's workflow really seamlessly, but second, it's like almost like building a baseline understanding of every stock. And if you understand why any given stock is moving, you can start to build up from there. Like, okay, why is that portfolio moving? Why is this technical doing something? So I think our general approach has been like solve the really gnarly hard problems first, make it fit inside of Robinhood, solve the legal challenges, solve some of the base knowledge of understanding stocks, and then build from there. And hopefully what everyone saw last night was like us building off of that foundation and accelerating.
And Dave, you mentioned agents before.
Yep.
Like obviously, if you just look into AI at all, like that is like the next big buzzword. It's like the AI that's actually doing something on your behalf. Not only does it give you good answers, but it's also like can execute and you could trust it.
Right.
I want to know how retail investors are going to most like intimately be involved with agents in the next like couple of years. Like, how do you see that
100%.
relationship?
Yeah, I would say the year 2025 with agents was still very focused on knowledge retrieval and discovery sort of things. Ask a question, get something back. Customer support became like the big breakout use case in addition to like coding agents in general for agentic AI. And I think at this point, customer support agents are the mainstay. Knowledge retrieval type of use cases, you store or index your data somewhere, ask a question, get a response back. Accuracy is going up, latency is going down, cost is going down as well. And that was like the breakout use case of 25. I think in 26, I would expect more actions, multimodality, as in like voice can
more
be
agent
for
part of it,
agents. Your primary interface with an app surface that has AI backing it will likely be voice. People like to talk and listen on the go now. And I think the third area I'm very bullish about is like deep research followed by actions, as in can I have almost like a personal financial assistant accompanying me, doing research on my behalf, giving me insights on different trends, and then also take my advice and act on it, and then keep monitoring all of that workflow. So it's almost
Kind of like an advanced robo-advisor.
advanced robot advisor, yeah. I think 26, I see that hill climb to definitely happen.
And with the announcements yesterday, all of the sort of AI stuff baked into the platform, which of those do you sort of consider like more like agentic?
I think everything we announce and everything we build is agentic, fundamentally. So the charting and scripting that you saw, that's like essentially a code agent behind the...
Right. Not only ask it a question, but do this for me.
Exactly. So today we're giving you the DX script code back to then render on the UI for charting and stuff. Tomorrow that could extend to like more complicated workflows where you can chain a bunch of strategies or something like that.
Okay,
Or
not
maybe
only
like
do one thing, but do
even like
a few
chain the
things.
scanner to charting with other widgets too, you know?
Oh, interesting.
So the idea is like you move from just playing around with it from like a read-only mode
Right.
to a read-write mode, and then like a fully autonomous, you figure out what to do, go to the action, get me a result back.
So we're at the read, write a little bit, chart a little bit.
We are
mode.
read-write a little bit,
Okay,
yes.
and then someday it's going to be read, write, action, action, action.
Someday soon,
Hopefully.
hopefully.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean,
Yeah.
do you think there's an appetite for that? Because obviously, like one of the biggest things that just these chatbots in general or what have had to overcome is, do people trust them, right?
Yeah.
And then it's one thing to like, okay, get an answer from it, but then to like have it do actions on your behalf. I feel like that's like in your gut, that's like a little bit like a hard leap. Do you feel like people are ready for that? Is it going to just be natural?
I think it'll take time. That's also why we're starting with scripting or starting with the active trader audience, because it's very much human in the loop.
Right.
Like the active trader is going to direct the bot to be like, hey, help me build this indicator, help me build this scan. And they're also the ones who are sophisticated enough to go and validate the results. And then hopefully over time, they have faith in the system such that they can be more hands-off. But especially in the active trader audience, I mean, Vlad said this earlier, like, I think super active traders, they want to be at the helm. They don't want to just fully let go. So there's always going to be some component of human in the loop there. I think on the flip side, I do think there's a world where we get to more like autonomous advice, which might take a little bit longer. But, you know, starting with active traders, getting a lot of feedback, it's like, it feels like to us the right place to start.
It's like a trust building exercise.
Yeah.
And over time, you develop a rapport. If you're like, okay, I could trust this.
Yeah,
bot.
and I think even with digest today, like you see people reading the digest, but they do more research afterwards and kind of validate it. But over time, they'll just trust them more because they'll be like, this thing seems to be fairly accurate.
Yeah, I think there is accuracy issues with LLM, and that obviously creates trust issues. But from an R&D perspective and an innovation perspective, I think the assumption is that LLMs are getting better and better. So every time that we look at a product, and I'm sure that it is the same with Robinhood, our assumption is that, you know, by the time that the product is ready, the LLMs are already going to be more accurate, because that's the only way you can innovate in, you know, in this new paradigm where everything is evolving so quickly.
Right. I even think just like a year or two ago, like the big topic was hallucinations, and like obviously that still happens, but we've almost like trained ourselves to understand like it's going to do this, and now this is how we behave around it, and they've gotten better at the same time.
Yeah.
That's also what Uri was saying really matters, right? Like we are very selective about what data goes into the stuff
So
that
you're
we're
not just
building.
scraping Reddit?
So it's not just like a generic internet.
Yeah.
So that I think yields a higher degree of quality.
Yeah.
So I one of the things I love to talk about is screw ups, because like obviously like this is a brave new world. You've been just putting products out there that are you know, that didn't exist a few years ago. Like and you might have an idea, you test it out. I want to hear about some mistakes in like the realm of AI, like things you've tried that didn't quite work or didn't work as you intended.
Sure. So, I mean, we have a lot of them, and we're very proud of adding more and more mistakes every quarter.
Excellent.
What we try to do, and what we're still trying to do, is we're trying to take all the unique data sets and tools that institutional investors use to make better investments, and we try to simplify it and make it accessible to retail investors. And many of these data sets are simply too complicated to retail investors. So even if we invest a lot in the UI and we try to feed our users, sometimes it would fail. So one example is we licensed a very expensive data set from a third party that shows you the website traffic of different companies. So you could see, for instance, how many visitors did go to...
Oh, it's like a leading indicator
to
of how-
Robinhood. Yeah, and it's an indicator because you get the numbers or the ballpark of the numbers before the company actually reports.
Sure.
So it's a pretty good alternative data set, but it didn't resonate well enough with our investors. And after 2 years of extensive product marketing and showcasing it and you know, writing a lot of content around it, it didn't take off, and we had to remove it to offer other things. On the AI side, I think we're probably the first company to create a dedicated chat for finance. And, you know, we thought that people would replace ChatGPT and come to us for all the inquiries, but it didn't, you know, again, it had a lot of inaccuracies that we did not want to be liable for. And
So you made a finance chatbot.
yeah, and people eventually used it to ask questions such as, how do I subscribe? How do I disconnect? So people did use it, but it wasn't for what we were hoping that they would, you know, connect to our data in a more simple way, simply ask questions rather than browsing our platform. And you know, that wasn't well. But again, it was 2 years ago, and it was, I think, the first version of OpenAI. And, you know, many times going out before the market is ready is worse than going out after the market is ready. And I think that was the case for us with the chat.
Right. Okay. So they were using it for like customer service as opposed to like
Yeah.
research, which was
Which
what
is
you
also
intended.
okay, but you know, the product people that were working on it, that wasn't their intention, and
Sure.
we decided to hide it in the back of our platform.
Got it.
I think for us, everyone who's worked on agents or LLMs definitely has a chatbot story that did not pan out right. So we began, I think, our chatbot journey like maybe a year and a half ago, give or take. The initial thesis was let's tackle something more tangible. So go after specific verticals. You could have like answers around tax lots, options trading, payments coming in and out, ACATs, stuff like that, right? So very vertically focused line of like knowledge retrieval or line of question answers, which specific agents could answer. So we went down that path. What it resulted in were a couple of interesting learnings. First learning was a user who comes to your platform on the support interface never really has one question related to like something ultra specific. If it's an ultra specific question, they can probably just Google and get the answer, right? So it's going to be more nuanced. For example, I could ask a question which is to the effect of like, hey, what's the implication of the 4 trades I've done? Give me those tax law breakdowns and implications on my tax for the year. Is it long-term, short-term, so on and so forth. Now the whole process of this is like I need to go fetch your trading history, I need to fetch a bunch of other account signals, get the tax law breakdown, and then combine the information across 2 or 3 verticals to give you a coherent answer. And the intent is like I should be able to answer you in one turn. As in you ask a question, I fetch what I need to fetch, create an execution plan, give you the answer, which is grounded, accurate, so on and so forth. And ideally in like 10 seconds, 15 seconds, because no one really has the patience to wait for a bot spinning here and there. With our original strategy of like vertical sort of bots, we had like 10 or 15 bots that cater to different topics.
Oh, so very specific to like you'd have to know, I need to talk to this bot for this type of question.
Yeah. I mean, we hid that sort of routing away from the user,
Okay.
but what it meant was fundamentally there were like handoffs happening between the bots. It added latency, it compromised accuracy because one bot doesn't know how someone else is going to consume my information, right? From there, we went down this path of like creating like a one agent architecture. So you have a single planner that'll figure out based on your question which all tools it needs to invoke to get the account signals, to get the knowledge retrieval, combine it all together and give you a single answer. The awesome thing was our deflections went from like 3% to initially 30%. And then as we tackled more complex topics, now we're in like the 69-70% ballpark, which basically like 2 out of 3 or more cases are automatically solved by.
And what are you hoping to get to?
I think it's interesting. I
100,
would say
right?
Yeah.
100, yeah, but I think realistically, probably the diminishing returns start at around 75% because the 25% cases need some human intervention or are too complicated in terms of the actions you would need to take. The original versions of the chatbot were like knowledge retrieval only. Now we are adding actions. I think adding actions will get us to like 75% or so. And then we go down the path of like more complicated workflows, so on and so forth. But I would say 75%.
I think one thing generally building products in this new like AI world that's been interesting is that like if you look in the past, you typically want to build products like depth first. It's like I want to tackle, and it kind of goes to what you were saying. I'm going to do these 3 things and do them like exceptionally well. But the moment you put a chatbot in front of a customer, it can go in like any direction.
Right, it goes the human mind.
So yeah, it just goes in any direction. So you kind of have to like shift your thinking from like traditional, what I would call like product development in mobile and digital stuff, which has typically been very depth first, to like very breadth first, which is actually really challenging because then you struggle with quality when you're dealing with breadth. So customer support's a great place to start because you always have the human as a backup layer if the bot can't answer it. The mess up I was going to talk about is less related to AI, but I think will speak to how we use AI in the future. But I think March of last year, we shared this redesign of our app at our first Gold event, which was like highly customizable UI. And when we started, I think people were pretty excited about it. But when we started rolling it out, it just didn't really resonate with the audience. And it was like, you have to put in a ton of work to make it useful for your specific use case. So I think the direction that we've been sort of pivoting in is more and more personalization in the product, where like we give customers the ability to customize, but like we already know a lot about customers. Like how can we personalize the app experience like from day one? or as you use different products so that there's not a ton of upfront investment.
Right. So you would be doing the work as opposed to the
Yeah,
customer.
yeah.
You're anticipating what
Yeah.
you think they would want.
Yeah, and I think social will have some of this, with the feed. This always plays into search and stuff, but that's been an interesting thing we've learned. Like, customization's hard to do. Yeah.
That brings me back to just my first question of like where people go. I assume you saw people going to the site and then going to social media, or going to social media and coming to the site, and then that's where
Yeah.
you came up with integrating them.
Yeah, I think social is really interesting because it's almost like I think in a lot of ways the phenomenon has existed for a long time. Like, first it was like on TV, you had CNBC,
Right.
then you had
Second
all these
screen, yeah.
you had all these newsletters, people selling their newsletters, and I think in the last 5 years especially, like, retail on social has taken off, and the level of analysis has become increasingly more like in depth and like high quality, like going from like purely talking about meme stocks to like, hey, here's my thesis on this company and why I richly believe in it. And sometimes I listen to these social, like people on social talking about their analysis of companies, and sometimes you like listen to them and you compare them to like analysts, like Wall Street analysts, and you're like, this person in retail is doing a much better job of explaining the thesis behind a company than Wall Street is, because Wall Street is like hyper focused on like the numbers, the earnings reports, and like retail it's connecting with the product more, and it's talking about the roadmap more. So we just thought, like, as we saw more and more people gravitating towards like analysis on social, and it was becoming higher quality, it was time to like bring the two closer together.
I completely agree. I think that Robinhood deserves the credit for this, by the way. They really opened the entire retail market, which over time led to many individual analysts. And today you can see the many millions of daily views on these videos where they explain in a very simple way why you should or shouldn't invest in a company.
Right, and they had very loyal followings. These people, yeah. All right, so we're almost out of time. I just want to spin this forward a little bit. Robinhood, TipRanks, everyone's trying to eat your lunch. Everyone is also innovating. Everyone, trying to come up with their own AI and ML tools. What's next? Like, what do you doing to sort of like stay ahead? Like, what are you thinking about when you're trying to, not get your lunch eaten?
So obviously we're trying to continue to innovate and bring new things just to stay ahead of competition. One thing that really changed the way we look at things is we partnered with another big website a few years ago, and we showed them this cool tool that we have that analyzes social media and shows you sentiment and this and that. And we thought it was a great addition for TipRanks. And their head of product looked at us and said, but why did you develop it just because it's cool? Like, we don't do anything before we see that it has at least X million people searching for it on Google. And so most of the decisions that we now make are based on, data from Google, from platforms that have way more users than we do, and give us some guidance into what users are looking for.
So you're building it for them as opposed to if we build it, they will come.
Yeah, exactly. And I have to say that since we've shifted the way we think of things, things have been working much better for us. Another decision that we made a few years ago is to stop looking on the small competitors that are trying to copy us and start looking at the big companies on the Bloombergs of the world to see what they're doing, because it doesn't make sense to keep following the smaller ones and be afraid of them copying you, because eventually they will if you keep looking at them, and instead try to understand what the multi-billion dollars companies are doing and what can you learn from them. So,
Abhishek or Dave?
I can take a quick pass. I think I'm most excited about like the journey we're making at Robinhood from like the larger models, agentic use, to like more smaller models, fine-tuned, super precise, low latency, pretty good on the cost side. So I'm personally excited about like in-house model development, and then like a whole fine-tuning platform that we've built, and then releasing products on top of that that really cater to the Robinhood customer base and the use cases.
Yeah. I think for me, it's like three things for the product. First is for the active traders, building like a really strong human in the loop AI, kind of from the stuff we announced last night with charting and scanning, but doing more and more of that. For like the more passive buy and hold investors, how do we work our way towards giving financial advice through AI? That's going to be an uphill battle to climb, but we think we can get there. And then I think third, the product breadth of Robinhood is expanding really quickly. So how do we personalize the app in a way that like is reasonably familiar to everyone, but caters to your individual use? So it's kind of those three things.
Well, thank you so much for speaking with me today. I thought
Yeah.
this was really illuminating.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was lovely. Thank you.
All right.